Hi everyone, Leo Notenboom here from AskLeo.com. I want to talk to you real briefly about the latest security breach you probably heard about that made the news just a couple of days ago. Basically, CNN Money announced or reported that, let me get the headline right here, I've actually got it in front of me. 2 million Facebook, Gmail, and Twitter passwords were stolen in a massive hack. Actually, it's more more service providers than just the three that are listed there. Those are the three biggest. So I'm getting a lot of questions about whether or not this is a big deal and just how worried people should be about their account security. My take on it is this. 2 million seems like a really large number, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not. In reality, of those accounts, we'll use Google as an example. Of those accounts, only 70,000 of those were in fact Google, Gmail, YouTube accounts. Now, there are conflicting reports as to just how many Google accounts exist. I see numbers anywhere from 400 million to 800 million. My guess is a billion is probably not a bad number to work with. Regardless of which of those numbers you choose, what this means here is that the 70,000 that have been hacked into represent less than 1/100th% of all Google accounts. Now, obviously, if you're one of those 70,000, it doesn't matter, right? You've been hacked, you're affected. But what I'm trying to get at here is that most of us, the vast majority of us, are not affected. Now, why is it such a small number? How did this happen? Why shouldn't we really be panicking? Personally, I don't think it's a time for panic. What happened, apparently, is that passwords and account IDs were stolen by using keylogging software. What it boiled down to is many, many machines were infected with keyloggers, malware. And what that means is that the accounts that were stolen were accounts that had been used on machines that had been infected by this malicious software. So, what does that mean for you and me? Well, as long as you're doing all the right things to stay safe, and as long as you're using your own computer and you've got your anti-malware tools up to date, you're scanning regularly, you're keeping the software up to date, you're not doing malicious downloads, all the kinds of things that you should be doing anyway to keep your computer safe, it's probably not an issue for you. It probably is not something that you need to worry about. The people that do need to worry about are the people that inadvertently or otherwise don't always do the right things online, or they use a shared computer, or they use a public computer and use the public computer to log in. So for the most part, my sense is this isn't something that we should all be panicking about. However, if you have any concern at all, then change your password, or go visit Email Hack, the 7 things you need to do now. That's my article on basically the steps you need to take if your account has been hacked. It's certainly the safer thing to do. There's no harm in changing your password and doing the kinds of things you might need to do. I had to turn off my ham radio there. The issue really is it a big deal? And I don't think it is. I think that you and I, the people that are doing the right things for the most part, are perfectly safe and aren't really going to be impacted by this that much. One thing I do want to throw in, kind of as an add-in, these kinds of things, the various kinds of breaches that we're seeing, be it individual account theft by infecting individual machines, or the larger data breaches where people are actually going into the back end and stealing the databases of accounts and so forth. One of the ways you could protect yourself, and the way that I protect myself from this kind of a thing, is to use two-factor authentication. What that means is that in order to log in, I actually need to run an application on my phone that gives me a number that I have to type in when I log into my Google account or my Evernote account or a couple of other accounts that actually support two-factor authentication. Not all do, but for those accounts that are sensitive, like Google, for example, it makes a tremendous amount of sense. It takes a little bit of work to set up. It doesn't have to be the kind of a thing you have to deal with every time. For example, on my desktop computer that I'm looking at here, I rarely enter the code because this is my desktop computer and I control access to this computer. So I know who is and isn't going to be using this computer, and I don't need that separate setup. However, my laptop, yeah, I make sure that when I use my laptop, because I travel with it and because I could lose it, I want to make sure that anybody that gets a hold of it has to enter that code. They have to prove that they're me by virtue of having the phone with them. What it all means, what two-factor authentication really means, though, is that even a security breach like the one we've been talking about basically becomes a non-issue for most people. What it means is that even with my account ID and my password, you can't log in if two-factor authentication is enabled. So that's the kind of a thing that keeps you safe from these kind of breaches, regardless of how they happen, be it key logging, be it database breaches or whatever. So if you're concerned at all, there's no harm in changing your password. Long term, you might want to look into something like two-factor authentication to just increase the security of your important accounts if that's something that's an option for the accounts you consider to be important. I'm Leo Notenboom for Ask Leo. Thanks for watching. Talk to you again soon.